Rama is not just a hero in a story. He is a cultural memory that has traveled across centuries, languages, temples, and households, carrying with him ideas about duty, exile, love, and ideal kingship. The power of the story begins in Ayodhya, a city remembered as a place of order and blessing. In the epic imagination, a capital is never only a capital. It is a moral center. Rama's world is a court world, full of lineage, expectation, and political tension. A throne is never neutral in an epic, because every succession question can become a crisis of loyalty. The exile changes everything. When Rama leaves the palace and enters the forest, the story shifts from inheritance to endurance, and the hero becomes someone measured by restraint instead of comfort. That forest is not a backdrop. It is a trial space. Animals, sages, rivers, and hidden dangers make the wilderness feel like a world where identity is tested far away from the safety of the court. Sita gives the epic its emotional center. She is not only the wife waiting at home, she is a figure of strength, dignity, and loss, which makes the story feel human even when the stakes are cosmic. Lakshmana adds another layer, because loyalty in the epic is active, not passive. He follows, protects, argues, and sacrifices, showing how family duty can become a form of spiritual discipline. The abduction of Sita turns the epic outward, toward loss and rescue. At that moment the story becomes a search narrative, and every landscape begins to feel like a clue. Ravana is one of the most enduring antagonists in world literature because he is not flat. He is powerful, brilliant, musical, and dangerous, which makes the conflict feel tragic instead of simple. His Lanka is often remembered as a glittering island fortress. In visual terms it is irresistible: walls, towers, water, fire, and ritual power all wrapped together into a kingdom that feels almost impossible to breach. Hanuman transforms the story again. He is devoted, agile, clever, and larger than life, the kind of character people remember because he turns faith into action and action into wonder. His leap to Lanka is a visual gift to any documentary. It combines movement, scale, devotion, and impossible distance, which is exactly the kind of sequence that keeps viewers watching. The alliance with the Vanaras turns the epic into a collective effort. Rama does not win alone. He wins by building trust across difference, which makes the story feel bigger than one family. The bridge to Lanka is one of the most famous images in the whole tradition. It is also one of the most satisfying, a human-built path across the impossible, made from determination and shared purpose. When war finally comes, the epic becomes a meditation on power and legitimacy. Battles are not only fought to win territory. They are fought to prove that a moral order can still be restored. Rama's victory is remembered not because it is easy, but because it is costly. The story insists that righteousness is not a shortcut. It is a discipline that survives pain, separation, and doubt. That is why the epic matters in homes and temples alike. It tells people that duty has emotional weight, and that a life guided by principle may still require sacrifice, patience, and return. The returning king is one of the deepest motifs in South Asian storytelling. Return is not just coming home. It is the restoration of a world that had gone out of balance. Over time, the story moved beyond the page. It became performance, sculpture, dance, miniature painting, temple carving, and political memory, which is how epics stay alive for thousands of years. Different regions retold Rama in different accents and styles, and that is part of the magic. A strong myth does not freeze. It travels, adapts, and learns to speak in new cultural idioms. The story also became a lens for kingship. Rulers borrowed Rama's image when they wanted to appear just, orderly, and divinely endorsed, because epic authority is a powerful political language. That borrowing matters because it shows how myths work in public life. They are not just entertainment. They are tools for identity, legitimacy, mourning, aspiration, and collective memory. Rama's world is therefore both lost and present. The cities may be imagined, the forest path mythic, but the emotions are still current: exile, loyalty, separation, duty, and the longing for home. That emotional durability is why the story remains globally relevant. People do not keep returning to weak stories. They return to stories that organize fear, hope, and belonging into a shape they can remember. The deepest reason Rama endures is that the epic asks a question every culture has to answer: what does a good life look like when duty and desire do not point in the same direction? That question never ages, which is why the story keeps finding new audiences. Each generation sees its own struggle inside the forest, the court, the exile, and the return. Festivals keep the epic public, which is part of the reason it survives. A living story is not only read, it is sung, staged, painted, and retold until it becomes part of shared memory. That public life makes Rama unusually adaptable. The same core story can speak to a child, a scholar, a performer, or a ruler, because each audience finds a different layer of meaning inside it. The final reason the epic endures is simple: its images are unforgettable. Forest, bridge, palace, battle, return. Those shapes still organize how people remember struggle and redemption. Seen this way, Rama is not a distant figure trapped in the past. He is one of the strongest examples of how a society can turn ideals into narrative and narrative into inheritance. The Valmiki Ramayana is not a newspaper report, it is a literary and religious epic shaped across centuries of performance, commentary, and devotion. That distinction matters because reverence and evidence ask different kinds of questions. That movement across languages is part of the evidence. It shows not one unchanging manuscript, but generations using Rama's story to think about duty, exile, loyalty, kingship, and return. Across South and Southeast Asia, Rama changes language, costume, and emphasis while remaining recognizable. Tamil, Telugu, Sanskrit, Thai, Indonesian, and performance traditions do not simply copy one story, they adapt it to local ethics, kingship, devotion, and theater. That variety is not evidence of one frozen historical report. It is evidence of a living tradition whose core characters can carry different meanings in different communities. Ayodhya exists in political and devotional life, while the epic city belongs to literary and religious tradition. Archaeology can study settlements, routes, temples, and changing landscapes, but it cannot verify every episode in the Ramayana. The text itself also traveled through manuscripts, recitation, commentary, translation, and regional performance. A careful account can respect living devotion while identifying the forest exile, bridge to Lanka, and return to Ayodhya as epic images rather than treating them as a modern field report. Rama's endurance is not proof that the past is simple. It is evidence that a tradition can remain sacred, regional, questioned, performed, and renewed at the same time.